I Redditor.
What's the best example you have witnessed of someone destroying their own happiness or life?
Some guy at work was caught red-handed stealing AirPods from the locker room. When he was sent to pick up his own kit before being sent home, he excused himself to go to the toilet and took a shit on the floor. The kicker is that we work on an oil rig. It's impossible to get away with theft, and he was a senior technician making really good money. He didn't need the AirPods, he was just stealing for the fun of it. He's now not required back, and all the companies talk to each other. He shat away his career over a pair of AirPods.
My former company hired a safety officer into a really well-paid position. He was smart, personable, and really improved the safety program. He was caught buying gift cards and expensing them, took down half the department with him, since they were in on it too. I will never understand destroying your career for a few $1,000s. Edited for spelling.
A nurse I work with recently got fired. One of our residents' nursing home was in the hospital. He had a debit card, but statements went to our business manager. She noticed a charge for a takeout lunch on his card. Generally, we take resident wallets and put them in the nursing manager's office, but this one was in the narcotics box, meaning only nurses for that unit had access to it. When the business manager, nursing manager, and executive director called in this nurse to discuss it, he lunged at the business manager and put her in a chokehold. He is in his late 50s, early 60s, had a full career with pension from the Army before nursing, made reasonable money as a nurse, and now has an assault charge, a financial abuse of a vulnerable adult charge, and I'm sure is losing his nursing license, over stealing money for a takeout lunch.
My husband's friend had a beautiful wife, a gorgeous house, 2 lovely boys, a job he loved, and lots of great friends who loved him. Then he decided, at the age of 35, to get into hard drugs. He has been in and out of prison for violent crimes, transportation of large volumes of heroin, attempted murder, burglary, and stalking. He is homeless again, as he burned down his flat on purpose to get a move. No one will ever talk to him again. He's now 55 and has nothing. His wife divorced him after giving him far too many chances. His sons hate him. His real friends are gone forever, all for nothing.
That's wild. Like 35 stable life, and he just wakes up one morning and is like, I'ma skip over soft drugs and land me a hardcore heroin addiction with dirty needles, and threw it all away. Objectively, I'd say he had serious issues going on all his life, and nobody either knew or cared enough.
Sometimes, when you get everything you've wanted, you start to wonder if it's something you did because you wanted to, or because society said you should want to. At 35, with everything being a dad and husband, a lot of the things you used to do for fun can't be done anymore. No more partying, no more crushes, no more spontaneous trips. Some people can't handle the burden of being responsible for family. Unfortunately, you usually have to have one first before you realize that.
But of course, the price of getting what you want is getting what you once wanted. Neil Gaiman.
Friend of a friend got caught in one of those to catch a predator style stings, was messaging with what he thought was a 14-year-old and tried to meet up to have sex, lost his wife, all his friends, his apprenticeship, and spent the next several years in prison.
Watched the same thing happen. Had a wife, a kid on the way, a good job. I was in the same grade as his little sister. He was 2 years older. And we went to the same school from kindergarten through high school. Last year, he was sentenced to almost 40 years in a federal prison for conspiracy to solicit a 14-year-old who was actually an undercover agent, and a slew of CP charges. Now the wife has divorced him. He will never see his kid and will be an old man if he gets out. There were a lot of things he did, said in online chat forums that are so horrible, I couldn't even putting that shit out there.
I knew a guy in college who just got arrested last month for having sex with his student. Had a good job, an incredible wife who loved him, and he threw it all away to have sex with a student who made him risk it all. Now she's scarred for life and he's going to prison. ETA. I knew him 15 years ago in college. He went on to be a high school teacher, and at the ripe old age of 35, decided that one of his students wasn't just a student anymore.
I have a friend, I'll call him Jay, smart as heck, but maybe a little on the spectrum, so clueless as to social things, but he made great money in tech. One day he's at a friend's house, and the friend said something to the effect of, nobody could bug my house without me knowing. So Jay thought it would be funny to put a spare webcam he happened to have in his backpack in his friend's entertainment center, plugged into his Xbox, just to see how long it took him to notice. Well, the friend didn't notice, but his friend's girlfriend did, and thought the friend had been recording them having sex. So she called the cops. The cops arrested the friend. Jay hears about it and goes in to explain. He didn't think he needed a lawyer. He figured the cops would be able to see it was just a dumb misunderstanding. Thing is, in my state, placing a recording device in someone's home without their consent is voyeurism, which is a sex crime. And Jay just admitted to the cops, on the record, that he had done so. Also, in my state, it's a law that all sex crimes must be prosecuted, so even though Jay's friend and his friend's girlfriend didn't want to press charges, Jay still got prosecuted. The prosecutor and judge were were as gentle as they could be, but he was still convicted. Now, as a registered sex offender for life, he has trouble finding and keeping work, gets harassed by neighbors, can't go to most of his kids' sports events, etc., all over one seemingly harmless prank.
This kid I went to college with was in the Army Reserves making really good grades, and his parents were really well off. The kid's life was set, got an allowance every month from his parents, had a nice brand new car for school, lived in a nice apartment right off campus, and he had so much going for him. He didn't even have to work, just do his monthly reserve days, which were like 3 days a month. So, set for life. To shorten the story a bit, he pissed hot at a random UA drug test for fucking cocaine. He got lucky and the Army gave him a second chance. Not even 5 months later, he pissed hot again for cocaine and marijuana. He somehow got lucky again and they just kicked him out in an other than honorable discharge. Parents pulled his funding and he had to get a minimum wage job at a sandwich shop. Never saw him again until he randomly popped up on my Facebook about a year later. I hit him up to see how he was. Up and moved halfway across the US with this girl. He got pregnant and they were both working at Walmart, barely affording rent. He sold his BMW to pocket the move up there. He also looked rough, to say the least, in a lot of his pictures.
My younger brother broke up with a girl he liked because she farted in her sleep. He was telling my older brother and I that he was in the midst of a miserable dry spell and how he'd been seeing a girl he liked, but then she farted in her sleep, and he was so grossed out because there are some things you don't need to see your SO doing. It just felt like the mystery was gone. My older brother was like, yeah, cause that's what the mystery was about, farting. I called younger bro a fucking moron, and older brother was like, you're half right. Edit. When he said you're half right, he meant my younger brother may be a moron, but he ain't fucking.
I was a child protection specialist for years. I was assigned to work with a certain mom. It was the third time the courts had been involved with her due to drug abuse, but her drug of choice was huffing, the only huffing case I ever had. She was absolutely a lovely person. She had worked hard to earn a degree and enter into a career field. She was kind and beautiful. She was cooperative and she was determined. But despite how hard she was trying, she would relapse. And this was to be the last chance she got with the courts. So the stakes were high. We worked so well together. She spent 18 months going to treatment, getting reemployed, getting her own place, and having increased visits with her kids, who were also wonderful. The kids had been staying at her parents' place while we were working towards progress. We went to court and requested reunification, and the judge granted it. We were all so proud of her and happy for them as a family. We planned to fully move her kids home with her a week from that very court date. 2 days before we planned to return her kids to her, she drove her car through the front of a Walmart because she had been huffing and was high. She killed a Walmart employee and proceeded to huff herself to death in the electronics aisle, where there was keyboard duster spray, while law enforcement was on its way. I got the news at 5 a.m. that she was dead and had to go tell her children they wouldn't be going back to their mother, ever.
My buddy Steve was the poster child for has it all, good career, amazing wife, cute house. Then, the model trains happened. Not little setups, this guy took over the whole basement, then the garage. His wife went from amused to livid. Arguments turned into screaming matches. She eventually left, and Steve, in his model train bliss, barely noticed. The twist? He inherited a ton of money and spent it all on antique train sets. Eventually, though, he noticed, and no model could cure the blues of losing his incredible wife.